picture this for a second. You're walking into this really sleek, glass-walled conference room.
Right, like classic Sand Hill Road vibes.
Exactly, Sand Hill Road. You're a venture capitalist. You've got your notebook out. Your coffee is ready. And you are, bracing yourself for the usual morning gauntlet of pitches.
Just waiting for the next big B2B software pitch.
Yeah, or like somebody pitching you a generative AI tool for, I don't know, supply chain logistics.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a decentralized app that just disrupts how we buy dog food, right?
Right, the usual suspects.
It's the usual stuff. So you sit down. The founder fires up the pitch deck, but the core product they are pitching you, like the literal deliverable they are promising for your $10 million seed investment, is the overthrow of a foreign regime.
Wow. I mean, that completely shatters the baseline paradigm of what a startup is even supposed to be.
Right.
Because a venture capitalist is, they're conditioned to expect a return on investment that's measured in things like quarterly recurring revenue,
right,
or customer acquisition costs.
Churn rates, yeah.
Exactly, churn rates. Instead, the founder, sitting across this polished table, is basically offering a geopolitical earthquake.
It's just a total binary. Because usually, a startup either achieves product market fit or it just quietly goes bankrupt and fades away.
Yeah, it just fizzles out.
But what happens when the product is democracy and the market is, a sovereign nation?
That is wild to think about.
And disruption literally means dismantling a heavily armed government. So today, we are taking a deep dive into this genuinely fascinating, just incredibly dense and highly charged blog post.
That's a lot to unpack, for sure.
It really is. It's from June 11th, 2026. The author is Paramendra Kumar Bhagat. And the post itself is titled Bhagat. The Iranian diaspora needs DemocracyTech.
DemocracyTech.
Yeah, DemocracyTech. So our mission today is to really dissect the architecture of this author's mind, because we are looking at someone who is publicly pitching a $100 million venture capital valuation for a digital tool designed specifically to empower the Iranian diaspora.
And, doing this deep dive requires a very specific analytical lens.
Definitely.
Because we are basically exploring the mechanics of a blueprint here. The source material is, it's saturated with explicit, highly charged political viewpoints.
Oh, absolutely.
Regarding Iran, Israel, the United States, and just ongoing global conflicts in general. So I think it's important to say our role isn't to litigate those geopolitical claims,
Right. We are not here to take a side.
Exactly. We're not endorsing the author's political stances. We're basically putting on our anthropologist hats, so to speak.
I love that, yeah. Anthropologist hats.
Right, to examine the structural logic of his argument. What's fascinating here is dissecting how he maps the financial and scaling mechanisms of Silicon Valley onto the incredibly dangerous, messy reality of statecraft.
Which is just such a collision of worlds. So let's start with the founder himself, right?
Yeah.
Who is the architect of this so-called DemocracyTech.
Let's get into it.
If you land on the Bhagat blog, the very first credential the author lists, and this is before he mentions a single line of code or, brings up venture capital or startups at all.
Right, front and center.
Yeah, front and center. He states that he was Barack Obama's first full-time volunteer in New York City.
Which is a very deliberate choice of introduction.
Okay, let's unpack this because that's the anchor. He wants you to view literally everything that follows through the lens of grassroots political organizing.
Yeah.
He isn't presenting himself as like a traditional software engineer who just suddenly decided to care about foreign policy.
Right, he's not a coder first.
Exactly, he's an organizer. He is a political organizer who has essentially adopted the vocabulary of a tech founder.
And, the historical context of that specific credential is vital to understanding his operating system.
How so?
Well, the 2007 and 2008 Obama campaigns were just a massive watershed moment in political technology.
Oh, for sure. They changed everything.
They really did. Because before that, the internet was largely used by campaigns as just a broadcast medium, a digital billboard to raise money or air commercials.
Right. It was very one way.
Exactly. But the Obama campaign was the first to truly weaponize data to organize human beings in physical space.
Wow.
They built these back-end systems that empowered completely decentralized, autonomous, volunteer action.
So people were actually moving around in the real world based on this tech.
Yes. So when he highlights this experience right at the top, he is signaling this foundational belief, which is that technology is useless unless it is actively scaffolding human infrastructure.
Right. The tech has to support the people.
Right. He learned early on how a digital backend could coordinate things like clipboards, phone banking, and physical community meetings at just an unprecedented scale.
But, I mean, I have to challenge the implicit premise there just a little bit.
Go for it.
Because to me, it's kind of like someone learning to cook in a meticulously run, highly resourced Michelin star kitchen in Paris, right?
Okay, I see where you're going.
And then they decide that this experience qualifies them to open a pop-up restaurant in the middle of a literal war zone.
That is a very stark contrast. Yeah.
Right, because grassroots organizing in a stable, democratic environment, even in a complex, huge ecosystem like New York City, it still operates under an established, predictable set of rules.
You have fundamental protections.
Exactly. You have the First Amendment, you have the right to assemble, you have a legal system that, you know, flawed as it may be, generally prevents the state from just vanishing you for knocking on a door.
Yeah, the stakes are completely different.
They really are. So does the operational logic of a get-out-the-vote drive in Manhattan actually translate to organizing a resistance against a highly restrictive, heavily armed regime?
And that tension is really the central paradox of his entire thesis. You're pointing out this massive leap from a high-trust, low-risk environment to a zero-trust, lethal environment.
Yeah, lethal is the word.
Because he is taking the mechanics of democratic participation, and he's attempting to wield them against an entity that actively crushes those exact mechanics.
Right, an entity that is designed to stop that.
Precisely. And the thing is, he actually anticipates that skepticism.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He knows that a resume bullet from a 2008 U.S. presidential campaign isn't going to be enough to justify a $100 million valuation for regime change.
Yeah, the VC is going to want a little more than that.
Which is exactly why he immediately pivots in the text to establish his proof of concept. He wants to show he doesn't just have theory, He claims he has actual historical practice.
Ah, okay. Which brings us to the Nepal precedent.
Exactly.
This is where the narrative completely shifts from Manhattan to Kathmandu. He goes into detail about his work in Nepal, making this really remarkable assertion that he helped catalyze a revolution there.
A revolution that got results.
Yeah, a revolution that he says resulted in the country getting the youngest prime minister in the world.
Right.
And he notes this with unmistakable pride. He mentions that German radio actually referred to him as a Robin Hood on the internet.
Which is such a deeply revealing moniker when you think about it.
How do you mean?
Well, think about Robin Hood. He steals from the resource rich and redistributes to the resource poor.
Right.
In this specific context, the resource isn't gold or money. It's the monopoly on information.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. Because in an authoritarian or highly restricted state, the government maintains its power by strictly controlling the narrative.
So by breaking that control.
Exactly.
Right.
By distributing unsanctioned information to the masses, he views himself as literally redistributing political power.
That is fascinating. And what's wild to me is that the actual technology he used to pull off this redistribution, it's shockingly primitive.
We're not talking about high tech here.
No, we aren't talking about complex, decentralized mesh networks or, military-grade encryption apps.
Right.
He says his tech stack consisted of exactly two things.
Two things.
Just one blog that he worked on around the clock and what he claims was the largest Nepali mailing list in the world.
An email list.
Literally just an email list. He even includes this quote from a visiting politician who apparently told him, "Everybody in Kathmandu who has an email address gets your emails."
And we really need to analyze the mechanics of why a simple mailing list was so devastatingly effective in that specific era.
Right, because this was a while ago.
Yeah, this is well before the algorithmic fragmentation of modern social media that we have today. He claims this mailing list penetrated all major political parties, the major media houses, civic organizations, human rights groups.
Even the politicians in other countries, right?
Yes, even the Delhi establishment. He essentially created an informational bottleneck.
Okay, an informational bottleneck. Break that down for me.
So in a chaotic political landscape where public trust in state media is basically zero, the entity that owns the central node of alternative communication wields more influence than a physical army.
Because they control the reality of this situation.
Exactly. If the journalists, the opposition politicians, and the grassroots activists are all waking up and reading the exact same daily framing of events from his single mailing list.
Then he's running the show.
Yes. He becomes the conductor of the entire political reality.
It's the ultimate network effect, just incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
And to amplify that network, he provides this really fascinating detail about how he utilized early visual media.
This part is crucial.
Yeah, because we are talking about the absolute dawn of YouTube here.
Right, barely anyone was on it.
Exactly. So he says he hired a guy on the ground in Kathmandu whose sole job was to be one of the earliest uploaders of YouTube videos in the entire country.
Whoa.
And this person was out there filming the tiniest, scrappiest early street protests and just getting them online.
Which fundamentally alters the psychology of a diaspora.
Let's talk about that. Because imagine being part of the Nepali diaspora at that time. You're living in New York or maybe London or Sydney.
We're completely disconnected.
Yeah, you're cut off from your home country, watching this severe political crisis unfold from afar. And the conventional wisdom being reported is that the struggle for democracy there might drag on for 30 brutal years.
30 years is a lifetime.
The sense of isolation and hopelessness must just be suffocating.
Completely.
But then you open an email, you click a link, and you see visual proof. I mean, it's grainy, shaky, low-resolution proof, but it's proof of people actually standing up in the streets of Kathmandu.
It changes everything.
He claims the strategy provided an absolutely massive morale boost.
And it does that because it breaks the regime's illusion of total control.
Right.
Authoritarian power relies so heavily on projecting an aura of inevitability. Like, resistance is futile.
You can't win, so don't even try.
Exactly. When people believe resistance is isolated, they simply don't act. But a grainy YouTube video of a protest proves that dissent exists, which instantly lowers the perceived risk of joining in.
Because you aren't the only one.
Right. And this early strategy perfectly encapsulates his broader philosophy. The technology itself, like the camera, the internet connection, the YouTube server, is merely the amplifier.
Right.
The human courage on the street is the actual signal.
Oh, I like that. The courage is the signal.
Yeah. Without the people taking that massive physical risk, the tech is just an empty vessel. It does nothing.
It's lines of code.
But without the tech to amplify it, those brave people are isolated, they are easily silenced, and they remain completely invisible to the global community.
So it's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. He understood deeply that a modern revolution requires an audience to sustain its momentum.
Okay, so having laid down this Nepal proof of concept, he transitions into a broader philosophical argument. And it's really about the hierarchy of technology versus human expertise.
This is where his contrarian streak really shows.
Oh, big time. He uses a very specific tangent about South Africa to illustrate his point, and he takes a very direct shot at Elon Musk in the process.
It is a highly strategic comparison because Musk is basically the avatar of the Silicon Valley belief that pure engineering can solve any human problem.
Right. If you just code it better, it fixes society.
Exactly.
Well, the author basically says that if pure technology were the primary variable in solving complex political crises, Elon Musk could have already fixed his native South Africa.
Which is a bold claim to make.
Yeah. He describes South Africa as a country so deeply entrenched in corruption that it allegedly can't even effectively accept free gifts for its poor.
Wow.
And he states that he has openly offered to build the needed democracy tech to give South Africa a Nepal-style Gen Z-led revolution.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, he is laying out a very clear hierarchy here.
What's at the top?
He uses this specific phrase, deep domain expertise, not tech.
Not tech, even though he's pitching a tech startup?
Precisely. He is arguing that deep political intuition and historical context fundamentally trump pure engineering. A brilliant Silicon Valley coder might know exactly how to build a flawlessly scalable, end-to-end encrypted messaging app, but they don't understand the socio-political fault lines.
The human element.
Right. They don't grasp the cultural resentments or the specific historical trauma of a nation-state. He draws a really sharp distinction between running an election campaign in an established democracy where the rules are known and the goal is just persuasion.
Just getting more votes.
Exactly. Yeah. Versus building a democracy movement against a repressive regime where the goal is literally systemic dismantle.
Which is a whole different ballgame. And that actually brings us to one of the most powerful, evocative metaphors in the entire text.
The glass analogy.
Yes, the brittle glass. Because he's addressing the reality of these highly repressive, brutal regimes, and he acknowledges how deeply entrenched and terrifying they are.
He doesn't downplay the danger.
Not at all. But then he completely reframes their strength. He says this hardened depression actually makes the regime brittle.
Brittle, that's such a specific word choice.
It is. He writes, and I quote, "It will break like glass if you know where to hit, how hard to hit, and when to hit. You have to get the frequency right."
That is just a fascinating application of structural engineering concepts to political science.
Acoustic resonance, right?
Exactly, acoustic resonance.
Let's visualize that for a second. Think of a massive, imposing glass fortress. It looks completely invulnerable to a physical assault.
You couldn't just walk up and punch it.
No. You could swing a sledgehammer at it all day, and the hammer would just bounce off. You'd exhaust yourself.
Right.
But if you understand the structural integrity of that glass, and you find its exact acoustic resonance, like the specific frequency that that particular glass vibrates at.
The weak point.
Right. And you play that single note loud enough, the entire fortress just shatters from the inside out.
It just disintegrates.
He is arguing that authoritarian regimes are that glass. They project immense strength, but they are structurally inflexible.
Because they can't bend, they have to break.
Exactly. So his DemocracyTech isn't designed to be a battering ram. It's an acoustic tuning fork designed to emit the exact cultural and political frequency needed to find the regime's breaking point.
It's an incredible way to conceptualize it.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate on his business model here for a minute.
Oh, please do.
Because if the technology is genuinely secondary,
Right.
if it's really all about this mystical domain expertise and knowing the exact human frequency to hit,
Right.
why on earth is he pitching a $100 million DemocracyTech software startup to venture capitalists?
That is the big question.
Isn't he essentially downplaying the software to just highlight his own unique value as the founder? It almost feels like he's saying to VCs, hey, the code is cheap. You can hire any kid out of Stanford to engineer that. But my brain, my intuition for political acoustics, that is what costs $10 million.
That is a highly astute reading of venture capital dynamics, actually.
You think so?
Absolutely. What he's doing there is defining his moat.
Okay, his moat.
Yeah. In VC terms, a moat is the inherent advantage that protects your business from being instantly cloned by competitors.
Because tech gets copied all the time.
Exactly. If his product was literally just a secure messaging app, Meta or Telegram or a dozen open source groups could replicate it in a week.
And he'd be out of business.
Right. But by insisting that the irreplaceable secret sauce is his proprietary deep domain expertise in political organizing stuff, he honed on the streets of New York and proven in the revolution in Nepal.
Oh, I see.
He makes himself the indispensable core of the entire valuation. He isn't actually selling an app. He is monetizing his intuition as a service.
Wow, monetizing intuition as a service. That totally reframes the entire pitch.
It does.
So, okay, we have the organizer's background, we have the Nepal proof of concept, and we have this philosophy of the brittle glass.
The theoretical framework is set.
Right. And from this theoretical framework, he finally zeroes in on the actual target of the pitch, the geopolitical labyrinth of Iran.
And this requires us to look really closely at how he analyzes the Iranian landscape.
And again, just to remind you listening, we are strictly analyzing the author's stated worldview here. We are dissecting his geopolitical assessments without taking any sides or, validating the claims regarding international conflicts.
Exactly. We're just looking at his map of the territory.
Yes.
Because he explicitly rejects the simplified narratives that often dominate Western media analysis.
He doesn't see it as simple at all.
No. He doesn't view it as a simple binary of evil dictator versus noble Democrats. He uses a framework that he calls the three poles.
The three poles. He maps this out meticulously.
Right. He compares it a bit to Nepal, where he saw the king, the Democrats, and the Maoists as poles, but he applies it specifically to Iran.
Let me outline how he defines them in the text. He starts by defining the first pole as the world's most powerful, agile, and intelligent military, which is currently involved in what he calls kinetic action in the region.
He notes a ceasefire has been holding since late February of that year, 2026.
Right. Then, the second pole is the ruling regime in Iran itself. And he describes them in the starkest possible terms.
He doesn't mince words.
No. He labels it the most brutal and ideologically repressive regime on Earth, harboring global ambitions and just a bottomless appetite for terror.
Okay, so that's two immense powers.
Right. And then he introduces the third pole, which is the vital variable in his entire equation, the Iranian diaspora.
And his entire thesis hinges on this third pole.
Really? Why is that?
Well, he looks at these three immense conflicting forces, Two of them possess overwhelming kinetic and state power.
Guns, militaries, money.
Exactly. And he identifies the unarmed diaspora as the absolute only viable vector for his democracy tech to actually function.
Oh, because they are outside the direct physical control of the regime, but deeply connected to it culturally?
Precisely.
And he points to a very specific anomaly to back this up. He fixates heavily on February 14th.
The magic day.
He literally calls it a magical day. According to the text, on that specific date, the Iranian diaspora mobilized in the hundreds of thousands across major global cities.
All at once.
Yeah, an unprecedented unified show of force. He writes, the Iranians are a civilizational people, and it shows.
But this raises an important question, which is the crux of his frustration.
What's that?
Where did they go?
Right. He is deeply puzzled by the aftermath of that day.
Because they achieved this massive, awe-inspiring mobilization, but then, in his view, the energy just dissipated.
It vanished because the relentless, unglamorous daily grind of political organizing.
The clipboards and community meetings.
Yes, the exact kind of human infrastructure work he learned on the Obama campaign. It didn't follow the protest.
He is diagnosing a fundamental failure of momentum here.
Explain that.
Well, a single massive protest is essentially a pressure release valve.
Okay.
It feels incredibly good. It looks powerful on camera, but it doesn't change systems. Sustained organizing, on the other hand, is an engine.
It does the work over time.
Right. He believes the diaspora possesses the latent kinetic energy to be that engine, but they lack the operational blueprint and the specific digital tools to convert that raw anger into sustained structural political leverage.
And his desired endgame for this leverage is incredibly explicit in the text.
Very much so.
He says flat out, and I quote, I don't want Israel in the lead. I don't want the U.S. in the lead. I want the Iranian diaspora in the lead.
He wants an internal resolution driven by external diaspora pressure.
Yes. He operates under this assumption that if the diaspora can organize, exert the right frequency of pressure hitting that brittle glass, and install a democratic interim government, that new government would fundamentally alter global geopolitics.
And the underlying logic there is fundamentally economic.
How so?
He argues that a democratic government, one that is actually accountable to its citizens and seeking genuine prosperity, would naturally choose global cooperation over ideological intransigence.
Oh, because they'd want to build their economy, not fight wars.
Exactly. He believes they'd offer full cooperation on the major sticking points.
Like the nuclear ambitions, ballistic missiles, the proxy issues.
I love it.
And he actually points right across the Persian Gulf to the UAE as the benchmark for this.
The economic model.
Right. He wants the Iranian people to achieve UAE-level living standards, and he claims this economic transformation is possible at a rapid clip if the current regime is removed from the inside.
Which is a huge promise.
Massive. And he also weaves in this really strong anti-war stance. He argues that without regime change led by the diaspora, the current kinetic action in the Middle East is just a band-aid.
It won't hold.
No, he says it will inevitably repeat in a few years. He writes, imagine having to start from February 28 all over again.
So he is positioning his startup not merely as a tool for political liberation, but as a mechanism for long-term structural geopolitical stability.
That is wild.
He is pitching venture capitalists on the idea that funding his software is actually a more effective way to break a cycle of regional wars than traditional state diplomacy or military intervention.
It is an incredibly audacious reframing of what technology is supposed to or even can achieve.
Audacious is definitely the word.
Honestly, audacious almost feels like an understatement when you look at how he plans to actually fund this whole thing.
Oh, the pitch itself.
Yes. Because how do you secure the capital to build a world-changing democracy tech designed to topple a regime?
You don't go through traditional defense contractors, apparently.
No, you do it by asking for seed funding in a public tweet.
The scale of the ambition versus the profound casualness of the medium is jarring. It really is.
It's absurd. Let's break down the mechanics of this ask. He runs a public post on Twitter and explicitly tags Shervin Peshawar.
The venture capitalist.
Right. And he notes that Shervin is the only Iranian venture capitalist he currently knows on Twitter. The pitch is astonishingly direct. He just says, invest 10M at a 100M valuation and let the work begin.
Okay, let's break down the venture capital metrics here because this is wild.
Please do.
A $100 million valuation is typically reserved for companies that have not only proven product market fit, but have substantial, predictable, recurring revenue.
Like they are already making a ton of money.
Yes. They have a clear, mathematically modeled path to dominating a market sector.
And he has none of that.
He is demanding a $100 million valuation entirely pre-product.
The software literally does not exist yet.
It does not exist. And the ultimate deliverable is the capitulation of a nation-state.
Unbelievable.
Furthermore, he is entirely comfortable with the mechanics of syndicating the deal.
What does that mean, syndicating?
It means splitting the investment among multiple people. He casually tells Shervin that if he can't write the full $10 million check himself, tap into your social capital, pull together other VCs, I am fine with 5 VCs.
I am fine with 5 VCs. He is essentially proposing that they just pass the hat around Sand Hill Road.
Pretty much.
Just scraping together a few million here and a few million there until they have enough runway to overthrow government.
It's surreal.
And the tone of the pitch is so frantic. It's aggressive. He writes, "This work should have been started 6 months ago or earlier. We don't have much time. We are already behind, so pump up the volume. Let's get this done."
Right. There is this massive urgency.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. Think about a traditional startup pitch.
Okay.
Usually a founder comes in and promises to disrupt, the taxi industry or food delivery.
Right. Inefficiencies in a commercial market.
Exactly. This guy is promising to disrupt a sovereign nation, and he is pitching it with the casualness of someone asking for funding for a new crypto wallet app.
It really reveals a fascinating, almost religious belief in the omnipotence of Silicon Valley capital.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
He assumes that the financial structures, the scaling metrics, and the syndicate models that were designed to aggressively scale, like enterprise software.
Just B2B SaaS tools.
Right. He assumes those exact same models can be cleanly, efficiently mapped onto the messy, violent, unpredictable realities of global political revolutions.
And he is already planning his total addressable market, too.
Of course he is.
He notes that while the initial version of DemocracyTech will be, tailor-made for the cultural and political nuances of the Iranian diaspora, the underlying architecture is designed to scale.
Right, the software backend.
Yeah, he envisions it being applicable in many theaters around the world.
Theaters, like military theaters.
Exactly. He even mentions hoping to get Elon Musk to invest in a localized version specifically for South Africa, like we talked about earlier.
Expanding into new global theaters, the way a ride-sharing app expands into new municipalities, like rolling out Uber in a new city.
Yeah. He views global democratic struggles not as isolated historical events, but as a series of addressable markets just waiting for the right sauce product.
It's a completely unique worldview.
It is. But to truly understand how a founder arrives at a $100 million valuation for a geopolitical startup, we have to look past the main text of this one pitch.
We have to zoom out.
Way out. We have to peer into the broader matrix of the author's mind.
Which is fully on display.
Oh, it is. If you go to this blogger site, the right-hand sidebar is an absolute labyrinth.
It's massive.
It documents a staggering output of books, blogs, and podcasts spanning years. He boasts over 5 million page views.
He has been writing for a long time.
And the book titles alone, they read like the bibliography of someone trying to literally rewrite the foundational code of human civilization.
Because it is the output of a mind that just refuses to be confined to a single discipline.
Right.
Or a marginal improvement. He isn't looking to make things 10% better. He is attempting to construct an entirely new operating system for humanity.
Just listen to the scope of these titles found in that sidebar. We have The Speed Builders, How Humanity Can Deliver Mega Projects in Months.
Mega projects, okay.
Then there's Physical AWS.
Let's pause on that one. Physical AWS.
Yeah, the subtitle is How the Logistics Cloud Will Reshape Global Commerce. Then he's got Precigenetics, the technology that lets us watch life think. Liquid computing, the future of human-tech symbiosis. And AI and robotics break capitalism.
That is quite the range.
Oh, wait, he also writes fiction.
Novels, too.
Yeah, novels that sound like intense economic theory. Titles like The Dawn Beyond Currency and Trump's Default, The Mist of Empire.
The breadth is just dizzying. But if you look closely, a clear pattern really does emerge from all of this.
What's the pattern?
He is completely obsessed with the convergence of digital optimization and physical reality.
Oh, okay, like bridging the gap.
Exactly. Take physical AWS, for example. Amazon Web Services revolutionized the internet by making server space infinitely scalable and perfectly optimized.
Right, you just rent the space you need in the cloud.
Exactly. He envisions taking that exact digital logic and applying it to the physical movement of goods and human infrastructure across the globe.
Making the real world run like a server farm.
Yes. He views the physical world as this clunky, slow system plagued by latency, just waiting to be mathematically optimized.
And he actually has a very specific terminology for success in this optimized world.
Does he?
Yeah, he doesn't just want to build a unicorn.
Right, the standard Silicon Valley term for $1 billion startup.
Exactly. He thinks way bigger. He uses the word Solara.
Solara?
Yeah. He has books titled 1,000 Solaras in 10 Years. And from unicorns to Solaras, building trillion-dollar companies that transform humanity.
Transform humanity.
So what does a Solara imply in this context? It's clearly a massive step up from a unicorn.
Well, think about it. A unicorn is merely an anomaly of financial valuation. It's rare, but it's just about money.
Right, just hitting that $1 billion mark.
But a Solara, a trillion-dollar sun, that implies an entity with so much mass and energy that it exerts its own gravitational pull on the entire global economy.
It warps the space around it.
Exactly. It doesn't just dominate a market sector. It fundamentally alters human civilization. It provides the light and energy for a completely new era of existence.
Which flows directly into the spiritual blueprints he outlines.
Spiritual blueprints.
Oh yeah, because this isn't just a purely capitalistic endeavor for him.
Yeah.
He has titles like Kalkiism, the economic and spiritual blueprint for an age of abundance.
Kalkiism.
And another one called Velocity Money, Crypto, Karma, and the End of Traditional Economics.
Okay, that is fascinating. By coining Kalkiism, he is literally merging eschatology with macroeconomics.
Break that down for me, Kalkiism.
In Hinduism, Kalki is the final avatar of Vishnu.
Okay.
And Kalki is prophesied to appear at the absolute end of the current epoch to destroy darkness and usher in a new golden age of purity and renewal.
Oh, wow. So he's tying that to his tech visions.
Yes. He is positioning his economic theories and his tech startups as a form of spiritual deliverance.
Okay, so when we pull all of this together, the mega projects, the trillion-dollar suns, the end of traditional economics, the spiritual blueprints, it's a massive amount. What picture of the founder actually emerges from this sidebar matrix?
It reveals a mind that thinks exclusively in terms of total systemic overhaul. He isn't intimidated by scale in the slightest.
He practically lives for it.
Right. He is designing frameworks for AI, safely accelerating beyond capitalism. He is reimagining physical logistics on a planetary level.
Right.
So, when a mind that operates on the frequency of trillion-dollar suns and planetary optimization looks at the deeply entrenched, tragic geopolitical crisis in Iran, it doesn't see an intractable quagmire that has puzzled diplomats for decades.
What does it see?
It sees a structural inefficiency. It sees an engineering problem that simply lacks the correct acoustic frequency.
The brittle glass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it just needs a $10 million seed round to optimize the whole problem out of existence.
Man, so place yourself back in that sleek, glass-walled conference room on Sand Hill Road.
Back to the pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are the VC, you've looked at the organizer background, you've seen the Nepal proof of concept, you understand the brittle glass theory.
It read the aggressive Twitter pitch.
Right, and you've seen this sprawling, quasi-religious bibliography of trillion-dollar ambitions.
Right.
Do you write the $10 million check? Do you buy into the sheer, overwhelming magnitude of the genius vision, or do you run from the breathtaking chaos and presumption of it all?
It really is the ultimate test of venture capital's core philosophy.
How so?
Are you funding a specific software product, or are you just funding the sheer force of a founder's reality distortion field?
That is the $10 million question, literally. Well, we have covered massive ground today.
You really have.
From a young volunteer grinding out the Obama campaign in New York City to a digital Robin Hood navigating the informational bottlenecks of Kathmandu.
And finally, to a man pitching a geopolitical Solara to Silicon Valley via a public tweet. It really serves as a profound case study.
In what way?
In how the language, the expectations, and the financial mechanics of the tech industry are aggressively bleeding into the most complex, high-stakes arenas of human existence.
Like warfare, diplomacy, and liberation.
Exactly.
And as we wrap up, I just want to briefly reiterate that we explored the structural mechanics of these ideas today strictly as an analytical exercise.
Right, just unpacking the author's logic.
Yes. Because the geopolitical merits, the actual ethical feasibility, and the political reality of these massive claims, those are entirely separate questions for you to judge on your own.
But there's a lingering question generated by this analysis that goes beyond this specific pitch.
Oh, what's that?
If this author's vision proves prophetic,
Okay.
if DemocracyTech becomes a viable, heavily funded, scalable asset class in Silicon Valley,
Which is a crazy thought, but go with it.
what happens to the fundamental nature of human freedom? When grassroots revolutions are no longer fought entirely organically in the streets, but are instead incubated, stress-tested, funded, and aggressively scaled by venture capital syndicates.
Wow.
If we commodify the overthrow of governments, who ultimately holds the equity in the resulting democracy?
Man, if we commodify the revolution, who owns the democracy? That is a staggering, staggering thought to leave on.
It's something to chew on for sure.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of a very unique mind and a truly wild source material. Keep questioning the systems around you, and we'll catch you next time.